Relationships end for so many reasons. But why do so many end because of self-sabotage? Raquel Peel is a psychologist who studied this trend. Today, she offers 3 tips on how we can break this destructive cycle.
To understand self-sabotage in romantic relationships, I have conducted 2 studies. In the first study, I interviewed psychologists from all over Australia who specialize in romantic relationships. I really wanted to understand what self-sabotage looks like in practice. I came to one conclusion. People do tend to behave in similar ways or patterns as they move from one relationship to the next. In the second study, I wanted to understand how people in relationships behaved and why. So to that end, I surveyed over 600 people from all over the globe. My participants varied in age, cultural background, and sexual orientation, but yet they answered in very similar ways. So from those interviews and surveys, I have compiled a list of behaviors which are very destructive in a relationship. 4 of these behaviors stood out, as they have been previously identified by a well-known psychologist and researcher, John Gottman. These are criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. He calls this the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. How fitting. So this might tell you how someone might sabotage a relationship. As to the why, it seems that people sabotage relationships for one main reason: to protect themselves. That makes sense. That is a valid way to be. So overall, self-saboteurs hold insecure views of themselves, others, and relationships. And this is usually due to having had difficult relationships in the past growing up, say with their parents, peers, or romantic partners. This is really tough to escape. Now let me tell you, the way people choose to self-sabotage will be uniquely tailored by their past experiences. But no matter how unique, their journey is often met with a twist of fate. People who regularly self-sabotage will find it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they tell themselves they cannot do a task. Their claims will translate their performance into real outcomes. I have countless examples, but one of them is actually standing right in front of you. Hello, my name is Raquel. I am a recovering romantic self-saboteur. I assume that people in a relationship with me will eventually leave me. I also assume that all my relationships will fail without much evidence. Consequently, I am often thinking how best to protect myself. And I count on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse to do the job, with criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Just ask my husband. But let me tell you, it doesn't work. So a lot of people come to me and ask, how did things change for you? What happened? I have been conducting research into what works to maintain long-term relationships. So I have combined what I have learned into 3 tips for you. But before I tell you, let me just say, we should not be pursuing every relationship that comes our way. I would like to tell you to pursue those relationships that have the potential to work. They are good. And what's standing in your way is your self-sabotage tendencies. So for those, tip number 1, insight. Take a really good look at yourself and your behaviors in relationships. Ask yourself, are you someone who needs a lot of reassurance from your partner? Are you someone who gets nervous when things get too close? Are you someone who counts on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse to protect you? If yes, you could be a romantic self-saboteur. But please don't shoot the messenger. I know these are very uncomfortable questions. I just need you to think about it. I have told you my reasons for wanting to protect myself. What are yours? Tip number 2, expectation. Think about your expectations of your romantic partners. Do you expect they should know what you are thinking or want all the time? Do you get frustrated when they're not living up to your expectations or standards? Are your ex realistic? And tip number 3, collaboration. We need to figure out how to collaborate with our partners and how even to be vulnerable together. Are you and your partner in the same team? Do you talk to your partner about your relationship goals? Do you see you and your partner together long term? Now, those tips are not an overnight solution or a one-size-fits-all solution. So it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of patience, believe me. And there might be a lot more that you need to implement than just these 3 tips. But this is a good start. Change is really hard, but not impossible. So if you are someone who needs to break the pattern of self-sabotage, please be kind on yourselves. It's natural to want to protect yourself, but the way out of it is to have insight into who you are in a relationship, your expectations of your romantic partners, and how best to collaborate with them. Because after all, if you know who you are in a relationship, your partner will also have a chance to get to know you, and together you can break the pattern of sabotage.